So Keynesian theorists say, Keynesian economists say that government intervention is necessary, or government intervention is required in order to pull an economy out of crisis situation or fluctuation. So they say that if an economy slows down, aggregate demand will decrease. If aggregate demand decreases, then companies will cut down production. If they cut down production, wages will decrease. When wages decrease, there will be further lower consumption, and that would lead to further lower aggregate demand. And aggregate demand will continue to fall. So government will need to intervene in order to uplift this aggregate demand. This is what Keynesians say, that government should intervene, and after and government should come up with the policies to uplift the demand. Sorry, to
minimum wage rate.
Yeah, so or any other minimum wage or any other policies to uplift the demand. What are the criticisms against this theory? So general criticisms are that if government intervenes, government will have to increase government spending. When government increases government spending, its budget deficit will increase. When budget deficit increases, government borrows debt. When government borrows debt, the economy becomes dangerous. Why? Because debt is an addition of debt increases the risk in the economy. So overall economic risk will, or country risk will increase, or country risk premium will increase. So that's why government should not intervene. This is the general criticism on this theory. But Keynesian believes that government should intervene. Without that, aggregate demand will not rebound. So that is about Keynesian. Then comes monetarist school. So as obvious from the name, monetarist school talks about money supply. So they first object to Keynesian intervention due to same reasons which we discussed. So they say that Keynesian model does not recognize the supreme importance of money supply, that Keynesian do not talk about money supply, and money supply can cause a boom or a recession. Secondly, they say that it is not logically sound. Short-term view failed to consider long-term cost for government, that is increase in debt leading to increased risk and all that. Secondly, they say that if government increases government spending, it will first find out the opportunity to spend, then it will make a plan, and then it will actually spend. And by the time that spending produces results, maybe the need for that spending has gone already. So maybe the government actions take effect after the crises are over. And then they talk about money supply. They say for an economy to continue to grow or continue to be stable, money supply needs to continue to grow at a moderate rate. They say if you significantly increase or decrease money supply or do not change money supply, then economy will see fluctuation. Money supply should continue to increase at a moderate rate for any economy to be stable. Then comes neoclassical. So neoclassical models or neo-Keynesian models, what they do is that they combine concepts of macroeconomics with microeconomics, or they define macroeconomics using microeconomic principle. For example, RBC model conclude that expansion and contraction represent efficient operation of economy. So it says that contraction and expansion are a part of the cycle, and they actually represent efficient operation. That they represent that economy is responding to the external real shocks. Because the level of economic activity at any time is consistent with maximizing expected utility, policy recommendation is for government not to intervene. So they say that no matter how the market is responding, market will respond in a way that will increase the utility of individual. So all the individuals will respond in a way that increases their satisfaction or their utility. So as they are responding to increase their utility, they will be satisfied. Eventually, they will reach a state where they are satisfied. And so government should not intervene with any of its policies. And utility is individual utility is a concept of microeconomics. So it is defining the overall macro movement based on utility. So that's why new classical or new model. Neo-Keynesian also uses the same thing, but uses the same logic of combining micro with macro. But Neo-Keynesian says that okay, market will reach equilibrium, but they say that in the long run we are all dead. That is, they say that it will take so long for market to recover or to reach equilibrium that it wouldn't actually be required and it would have done its damage. And so government intervention is required. So remember, when you talk about neoclassical models, they say government intervention is not required. When you talk about Keynesian, they say government intervention is required. And when we talk about monetarists, they say government intervention with respect to fiscal policies is not required, but they say money supply needs to be controlled. So these are the segments on which each of these theories focus on. So remember the concept, then these theories and many other theories come in detail in level 2. For now, remember these concepts. Moving on to unemployment. What is unemployment? Unemployment is people not getting job, and if more and more people are not getting job, that is the unemployment rate increases. Unemployment rate, you know, is low at the peak and high at the bottom of the business cycle for obvious reason. We also discussed that it lags the economy. It is a lagging indicator. Now, how do you actually calculate unemployment rate? Unemployment rate is people who are unemployed divided by labor force. Correct? Now the question is, who is considered unemployed? So remember, only those people who do not have a job but are finding a job are considered unemployed. Those who do not have job but not even finding a job, they are not considered unemployed. Only those who do not have job but finding a job considered unemployed. What is labor force? So remember, labor force does not mean the number of people in an economy. It means those who are working, either working or searching for a job. If there is anyone who is neither working nor searching, he is neither unemployed nor a part of labor force in this calculation. So that's how you calculate it. पता नहीं. Don't know. So anyone who is unemployed is entitled to state benefit. But then within those, there will be some who are looking to get a job, and there will be those who wouldn't actually be looking for a job. They would be satisfied what they are getting. I don't know what they are called, but they are not used, or the number of those people is not included in calculation for unemployment rate. They are neither considered unemployed nor employed nor a part of labor force. Now, what can be different types of unemployment? What can lead to unemployment? So there can be different types. There can be cyclical unemployment. As we discussed earlier, in slowdowns, companies will lay off the worker and their unemployment will increase. That is cyclical. Unemployment can be structural. There is a difference between structural and cyclical. A lot of time people tend to confuse these. So remember this. Structural unemployment is due to change in structure. So if any change in structure makes a position redundant and that causes unemployment to increase, that is structural unemployment. So for example, if new systems or technology comes in and that replaces people on the jobs, then that means structural unemployment. That is the unemployment due to changes in structure. And then you have frictional. So for example, if someone has left a job and now will be joining another job in 1 month or 2 months, that is known as frictional unemployment. So it is kind of temporary. So these are 3 types to divide unemployed number of unemployed people by labor force, that is known as unemployment rate. As we discussed, that labor force only include those people who are actively participating in either working or finding a job. Then if I if I look at the overall population, that will be total population of working age. From this total population, some are actively participating, others are not participating. So activity or participation ratio is labor force divided by total population of working age. It will tell you what proportion of the total working age people are actually actively participating in the economy. If activity ratio is high, that is good for the economy. If activity ratio is decreasing, that means there is an increasing burden on the economy, because then government will have to pay off the benefits for those people. Total population, all the no, working and searching are part of labor force. Working plus searching plus those not searching, that is total population of working age. That you have a working age, but you are neither working nor searching, or nor so you are either working or searching or not searching. So anyone in a working age is a part of total population. Then let's say that someone is working, but he has a qualification to do a better job, but due to lack of opportunities, he is doing a job which is not as per his qualification, or a lower level job. That is known as underemployment, or he would he will and he will set to be underemployed. Underemployed means has qualification to do a better job, but due to lack of opportunity is not able to do that particular job. Then maybe there is someone who has been finding a job for a long time and he could not find a job, so he stopped searching for a job. That is known as discouraged worker. There might be someone who never tried, he is voluntarily unemployed, so either rejecting job if he gets it, or has already retired, so and do not want to do any other job, so that is voluntarily unemployed. Types we have already discussed. We also discussed unemployment rate, lags business cycle. So one of the measures of unemployment is unemployment rate. There are many other measures as well. For example, payroll. If payroll is going down, that means unemployment rate is increasing. Total hours worked, if they are falling, that means unemployment is increasing. Use of temporary workers. So generally companies would hire temporary workers when they want to cut down the positions, and that eventually leads to unemployment increase. Productivity. If productivity has increased, lesser number of labor would be required, and so unemployment can increase. Or in other words, if productivity has increased, maybe that eventually lead to increase in demand and eventually lead to decrease in unemployment rate. But that can be a major, or can give you a direction about what can happen in future. Productivity tends to fall in recession and rise in recovery. So that was one factor, unemployment. Another factor that we discussed was inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is increase in prices. How do you measure this? You measure it through, usually through consumer price index or any other price index. When we talk about increase in price, so either price, let's say price is currently $100, then it increases to 102. So inflation is 2%, right? Then let's say it increases to 105. So inflation will be